Good evening, everyone. And I'm sure you know me. This is Hlengi Wemfeka. In case you joined in late, I will be the presenter or the facilitator of today's session, which is our master training for the upcoming sessions. I'm going to ask Umatapelo, I'm hijacking her, to briefly give us an overview of what this IGAMBA project is all about, briefly, and then we will get on with our agenda. Matapelo. Yes.
So the project is for teachers that are teaching maths, science, and English in different provinces. So we have got schools in the Eastern Cape, in Limpopo, in Mpumalanga, and I think the last province is in the Free State. And the idea is to just share an overview of what other teachers are using for teaching and learning, particularly when we look at what we've all been faced with the COVID pandemic. So we're really trying to demonstrate to teachers mainly about Microsoft Teams and how other teachers are using it in the classroom for teaching and learning. And we are then infusing the use of digital assessments within Microsoft Teams, and obviously will include how to use other applications that teachers may have a liking to within the Microsoft Teams platform. And this is just a session where we are introducing the platforms to the teachers to see if it's something that they would go with in the event that they have access to digital devices and obviously connectivity. The main focus of the project is around teaching STEM subjects and using technology. And the reality on the ground is that most learners do not have access to digital devices. And so how they will be offering the lessons would be mostly through a cell phone. But there is no harm in trying some of the tools that we introduced to them during this training. And IGAMBA was saying that in the long run, they possibly looking at offering digital devices. They also looking at offering teachers some connectivity and some digital devices. And currently, they don't have that in place. So yeah, that's basically the background of it. And IGAMBA is just offering additional maths and science classes to learners of the selected schools. So yeah, basically that's what the project is about, and we feature in as the service provider to offer training to the teachers, introducing digital teaching tools, also with an infusion of digital assessments.
Thanks, Matapelo. Right, so I just want to quickly find out if we are all familiar with Microsoft Teams. Microsoft Teams. We are going to use our chat to communicate, or we can simply unmute ourselves and respond to the questions being asked. If you are familiar with Microsoft Teams, you are using it with your students, or you are using it at work with your colleagues, please type a yes in our chat. Right, I can see Mokudu just responded, I'm competent with Microsoft Teams. Usi is saying yes. Let's see more responses. Okay, so for now we have Wusi and Mokudu who have responded to the question. If you have difficulties in typing, please feel free to unmute your microphone and respond. Right, I see Sianda, she is using it for meetings at work. So Vusi monitoring. Yeah, it looks like the majority of us are familiar with Microsoft Teams, and we are using it. The reason why I'm asking this question is that I don't spend too much time trying to demonstrate something that you already know. Right, and then that is Microsoft Teams. I also want to find out if we do have a Microsoft Office 365 accounts. Can you also type a yes, I have a Microsoft Office 365 account and I am using it, so that we know it's very important. Right, I see Nolizo is saying yes, but to a limited extent. She's using it mostly to join as well as prepare meetings. Right, in Office 365, can I get a response for Office 365? Do we have Office 365 accounts or we don't have? That's also very important to know whether you do have it. If you don't have it, I would like to request that you create one after this session. It's important that you do have an Office 365 account. Now, last question. I'm doing a quick survey here. The last question is, are you familiar with Microsoft Forms? Because that is the application for digital assessment, which we are going to use to facilitate that. We will be using other application for digital assessment, but mostly or mainly we will use Microsoft Teams to do our demonstration, which is part of the content facilitated to the teachers. Right. Now I'm going to go straight to our PowerPoint presentation. So the manner in which I would present this session, I'm going to utilize the PPTs which you would use should you be appointed to conduct training for this project. It's called Ikamva Youth Project. So if you are appointed to conduct a training session for this project, you will be using these two PowerPoint presentations. So I would be modeling to you how you would be facilitating the modules and highlighting the facilitation parts of it. Right, so this is the presentation you would use for module 1. There are two PowerPoint presentations. The first one is on digital teaching, that is introduction to digital teaching. That will be our module 1. And then module 2 will be on digital assessment. Right. You have a full day to facilitate these two sessions, right? Normally the sessions start at 8 o'clock until 4 p.m. Depending on the communication with the schools or with the provinces concerned. So this is the presentation you would be using, right? So you are going to share the program with the participants. So this is the workshop program, which the first part is optional, but we do recommend that before the session, you create a WhatsApp group where perhaps you invite myself or you invite Sotumo or Matapel, any SchoolNet member, so that you are able to create a group. Then at the start of the workshop, you share the WhatsApp link for the participants to join in the group. This is very useful during the session where you need to share links, where you need to share quick information that they can easily tap on it in their WhatsApp. Yeah, so WhatsApp group, that is optional. I have found it very useful too, even after the session, for example, for follow-ups, if you need to do follow-ups on certain work that still needs to be completed. So that is the first one. And then you're going to cover the introductions as well as expectations, which I will take you through shortly. Then you would then introduce the module digital teaching and learning. And in that module, what is covered is the exploration as well as the creation of teams in Microsoft Teams, as that will include the navigation and as well as the key functionalities. But you would see that as we proceed with other slides. Right, and normally after lunch, that's when you introduce the next module, or module number 2, which is create with digital assessment. In that module, what the focus is, or the end product is, that teachers create their quiz using MS Forms. If time permits, you can also get them to use other applications, for example, Flipgrid or any other assessment tool that they may wish to explore. That is, if time permits. Right, and at the end, they would need to complete the course evaluation. We are going to share the trainer toolkit with you, which has all the documents you would need during the workshop and after the workshop. Right, so let me go straight to the expectations and requirements before the introductions. Right. The two modules that you are going to cover in the during the 1 day session, they are says endorsed. As you know, with SchoolNet, all our courses are accredited. So these two modules, which are independent courses, they carry 5 CPTD points each. So at the end of the day, those teachers would be able to complete the required activities. Once they are assessed, they would they would earn themselves these 10 CPTD points. So it's important to communicate that. And what is important to communicate as well is that the teachers would need to complete a portfolio of evidence showcasing the skills as well as the competencies. So it's not only for attending the training, but they also need to complete the portfolio. Now, what should be in the portfolio? The minimum requirements of what should be in the portfolio, it's 1 activity per module. We would share with you what are those activities. Obviously, you would like to encourage teachers to do or to complete more than the minimum requirement. Also, you can allow them time post-workshop, but not later than 31 October 2021. Teachers need to email, that is, if they couldn't complete everything during the workshop, they would need to email their portfolios to the email address tutor@schoolnet.org.za. However, in some instances, I think it is best that you also share your personal email so that you are able to keep track of who has submitted, and then you do follow-ups to those who haven't submitted. That is important. But from my experience, I think it is better that you try to push teachers to complete the 2 activities during the workshop, because it's quite a pain on the neck to, like, follow up with them in completing the activities. Right. What you also need to communicate is that for those teachers who have submitted their portfolios and met the requirements, Schoolnet will print certificates, and those certificates will be couriered to a central location per province. But you should not worry about that. It's them who should know that their certificate will be sent to a central office from a body from ICAMVA. I mean, ICAMVA body would receive their certificate and then populate it. Right. So we won't be sending certificates to individuals. Now, another thing to note is that we won't be doing any reprints. So it's important that teachers, they complete the attendance register accurately and write clearly so that we're able to see their information, that is their names, surnames, as well as their ID or SACE numbers. In a case where there is a misprint or a typo in their certificate, what is going to happen is that we would email a PDF version of the certificate. Therefore, a teacher would be responsible to do their own printing. Please note that Schoolnet is not responsible for catering or for venue hire, nor the connectivity. Schoolnet is only responsible to provide training. However, there is catering provided, but it's not Schoolnet responsible. Should anything go wonky with the catering or with the connectivity or venue, it's not Schoolnet responsibility. Normally, there is a body who is in the workshop from ICAMVA, and that person is the one whom you need to communicate, maybe connectivity issues. But please feel free to communicate with Schoolnet, and Schoolnet would then contact the relevant person for any issues relating to the running of e-training. Right, I'm going to pause here and check if there are questions pertaining to the requirements as well as the expectations from the teachers. Any questions, or are we still good? Okay, looks like we're good. Right, then back to our program. First thing, after they've joined the WhatsApp group, then you do the introductions where teachers share their expectations. Right. This is a suggestion. It's you don't have to follow it, but you can perhaps use you get the teachers to introduce themselves using the tools themselves. Remember, we don't have enough time to introduce or get them to explore different tools. So it's better if your model uses the tools. For example, the session that we conducted in KZN, I use Flipgrid for teachers to introduce themselves, which Flipgrid is one of the assessment tools. So when we're doing the assessment modules, already they have used Flipgrid, they have experienced it, and they have an idea of how they can use it in the classroom. But you are not limited to Flipgrid. You can use Jamboard, you can use Padlet, you can use any other tool whom you think you are familiar with and you think it's relevant to the two modules. It could be an assessment, the digital assessment one, or it could be a tool for digital teaching. Right, but I've noted that Flipgrid, I think it would be great if you use a tool which later on you will be able to collect the information, and submit to Schoolnet as an artifact, you see. because we would like to have those as part of the project portfolio. Right. So when teachers introduce themselves, that is, these are the three different things that they need to cover in their introductions. If time permits, or you have really great participants and you feel, Wuti, there is more that you want them to share, yes, please feel free and add to this list. But on my end, I think it is best to keep it short because you only have a day to cover the content. That is introduction and expectations. Again, I'm going to pause and check from you if you have any other suggestions that you want to share with other trainers, which are really great as to use as an introduction. For me, this also serves as an icebreaker, like when we're using Flipgrid after the activities. I mean, after this activity, teachers were motivated. They really looked forward to explore other tools and so forth. So it's an all-in-one. It should take you like 45 to an hour. So yes, do spare that 1 hour. It's important because it's not just introductions, it's also the exploration of the tool. Right, I'm going to pause and check if you're still good, you don't have any questions or recommendations. We're still good. All right, then from the introductions, for what I did as well, after they have completed their introductions, I give them time to view other people's responses. That's how they are getting to know one another. And at the end, there is a debrief about the tool. What do they think of the tool and how can they use it in the classroom? Just a brief, debrief, about the tool. Right, and then you then move on straight to module 1, which is getting to grips with digital learning. And remember, this is only a day, and digital teaching and learning is a broad topic. But for this session, the focus is on Microsoft Teams. Okay, perhaps you may want to communicate that with them. It's on Microsoft Teams, but if time do allow, you can identify, teaching moments of other things other than Microsoft Teams. It's then you move on to the objectives of the learning, where the objectives are to explore difference between face-to-face digital teaching as well as distance learning. I'm presenting like this on purpose, not to be slide show, so that I'm able to easily maneuver without exiting slideshow and so forth. So please bear with me on that one. But if you can't see, please do indicate, then I can go to slideshow. Right. There you go. Right. How is it now? Good. Right, I take it is good. Right, and then you look at the considerations for digital teaching, learn about Microsoft Teams, explore some of the features and functionalities of Teams, and lastly, where the participants create as well as participate in a team to practice and collaborate. So these are the objectives. This is what you would cover in module 1. Right. Now, what I have noted is that before you dive into the content, it is better to first prepare them, because if you start with the content and get them to log into Office 365, it messes the flow of the session. So with this one, they need technical support, this and that, it's not working. So rather start with that. So you need you we will share with you the dummy accounts, Office 365 dummy accounts, in a case where teachers do not have Office 365 accounts. I think for me, this works best rather than using their personal, because if at times when they are using their personal, they've forgotten their logins and they need to go to their email accounts and they've forgotten their email accounts, this and that. So with these dummy accounts, because the idea is for them to access access different applications available in Office 365, which includes Teams as well as Microsoft Forms. So you will find the dummy accounts in this URL. However, in your trainer toolkit, the dummy account Excel sheet is available for you. So what you would do, you would assign each teacher with an account. In that account, there is a username as well as a passcode. There's also a guide on how do they log in using a dummy. It's very easy. They just enter those login details, which is the username, the passkey. Then they move to next. They cancel the rest of the things. They don't need to create a new password. They simply cancel that and move on to next until they get to the account. It's very simple. Right, so that is you assigning dummy accounts. Once you have assigned dummy accounts, then you would ask them to log into Office 365 and share these steps with them, or take them through on how to log in. Already you would have identified the champions, when they were doing introductions, how well versed they were in accessing the app that you would choose. So you would ask them to assist those who are battling with the logins and so forth. So this is the URL that you would need to share with them, www.office.com, right? And when they click on that, that is where after that they would need to sign in. Now, for some of us who do not have Office 365 account, you need to follow these steps as well. In your case, you would need to sign up. In some cases, you find that you already have it. It's just that you don't know. Maybe it is linked with your existing account. The only way to find out is to sign up. Then you enter your email address, and if you like, you may link it with your other email accounts. Right. So the steps are simple. It's always those completing the form steps that you normally follow when you sign up. Right. So but in this case, rather not spend time doing the sign-ups in the workshop, get them to sign in using the dummy accounts. Right. They won't need to go through all this. Remember, they are using the dummy account, so they won't need to go through this. Right. Once they have signed in, they would have access to all these apps. Then you ask them to click on Teams. They need to look for Teams, right? That is the one that you will be using in this module. Right. Once they have done that, all right, then those who have managed to open Teams, get them to assist others. Then you can begin, or you can introduce the module. Now, before you get into digital teaching, you want to establish a moral purpose of why are we even doing this? Why are we having even this workshop? So you take them to the the national framework for digital teaching. Please don't spend too much time here explaining the framework for digital teaching. Perhaps what we'll do is to include the framework in your toolkit to share with the teachers in case they don't have it, because it's important that they understand or they know the contents of the framework, since we are talking about digital teaching and digital learning. Now, when you explain the framework, the focus is on the level one, as well as your D4, which is the destination. I would call it a destination, or I would call it that is where we want to see teachers operating when they are integrating teaching and learning, or when they are integrating digital technologies in the classroom. So you look, this also serves as a self-evaluation of where an individual is with regards to these metrics. So you are able to track your progress of, how are you progressing with ICT integration. Now, we look at level one. Level one, that is the traditional way of teaching, where teaching is teacher centered, and it's not only teacher centered, but also the strategies that are used, as well as as well as the pedagogy or the methods that are used. The focus is on the low level of thinking, right? That is level one. No technology used. The teacher is the one delivering the content. And then we look at level, the green circle, which is our D4. Our D4, which incorporates both the transformation of pedagogy as well as digital learning. So there is a balance between the two, the pedagogy as well as the use of technologies. Now, the use of technologies cannot happen if there is no awareness of the digital tools and resources. So there should be awareness, so that when you have the awareness, you're able to use or to effectively use these digital tools and resources with when we're talking about the transformation of pedagogy, we're looking at the strategies where learning is learner-centered, where there are deep level of interactions, collaboration between learners themselves, the teacher and the learners, and the high level of thinking is targeted or incorporated within the learning activities, right? And then you cannot talk about framework for digital learning without, touching on TPEC, transforming pedagogy. Again, you don't need to spend much time trying to explain TPEC here. Now, here we are looking at the link between the framework as well as TPEC. The idea here is to find balance, where a teacher has technical knowledge, pedagogical knowledge, as well as content knowledge, where, is operating, with these three. So the idea is to create a balance out of the three. We don't want a case where you are really good with content, your content, you are an expert, and you also have really great methods that you are using, but you lack technological knowledge and skills, or either way. So the idea or the purpose for this workshop is to create a balance out of these three. Then we move on to the comparison between face-to-face digital teaching, distance learning. This one again, you can easily go through this one. They're familiar with face-to-face teaching. That's what we've been doing all the time. And then distance learning, you can check with them what they understand about distance learning and provide examples of distance learning. For example, most of the higher education institutions, they are using distance learning. There are no contact sessions due to COVID. And then we look at digital teaching. What is it that they understand about digital teaching? Right. So you try to gain understanding from them what they understand about digital teaching and why digital teaching. Right. Then we compare the two. We focus on, perhaps you mentioned that, all right? We are going to zoom into digital teaching. And with digital teaching, we've got two methods: synchronous learning as well as asynchronous learning. You try to find, you explain what is the meaning of synchronous learning and what is the meaning of asynchronous learning. Let me find out from you, what do you understand about synchronous learning? Anyone who'd like to share? Synchronous learning. It's still digital teaching, but it is synchronous. Yes. You can go ahead and share.
Um, my thinking is that asynchronous is its interaction is at the same time, and asynchronous it's at your own time. So synchronous is whereby they are all engaged at a specific time at the same time. So they do the activity or collaborate or whatever at the same time. But asynchronous, it's flexible. They will respond or do or collaborate or do activities at their own time.
Exactly that. And with asynchronous, it can be one assignment, but it's just that, each person decide when they want to complete. Obviously, it's important that when we're using asynchronous learning, you have due dates so that it's not just an ongoing thing or an endless, where, you take like a month or 2 months to complete. So there should be deadlines for asynchronous. Now, as a teacher, you need to, when you plan your digital teaching, you need to know which method are going to use for that particular lesson or that activity. Is it synchronous or is it asynchronous? Why is it important to identify the method? It's important to also plan for that, because when it is synchronous, there are things that should be in place for synchronous, and also there are considerations that you need to there are things that you need to consider as well, depending on the method that you choose, of which the considerations we will discuss in later slides. Right, now then you check with the teachers, what are their goals for digital teaching? what is it that they want to achieve with digital teaching? So you pose this question to the teachers. Let me hear from you. I mean, what are your goals for digital teaching?
What I think I want to achieve through digital teaching is that I wish to teach learners using the skills that they are familiar with in their surroundings. Let us say using the digital devices that the minimum digital devices that they are having, using them for teaching and learning, the minimum that they are having, but it must be fruitful. How to use their minimum resources fruitfully to achieve the educational goals.
So you want to maximize the use of digital resources at their reach effectively. That's what you're saying, so.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Exactly. Thanks so much for sharing that, so. You then, take a few more, not a lot, because you're mindful of time. You're rushing to the practical part of this. I tell you, they don't like the theory. So you need to really move quickly and guide discussions. Right. So these, to add on what they have already shared with you, it's to maintain contact with learners. We have experienced this when we had a full lockdown where there was no contact session and there was no learning in other instances, because if it's, I mean, if your learners or yourself as an educator, you are not ready for digital teaching, then it means there's no there's no teaching and learning. You want to continue with teaching and learning beyond the classroom, wherever they are. Connect with the school community. Now, in terms of connecting with the school community include the learners, include the colleagues, include, the cluster of schools, nearby schools. You still want to connect with them through digital teaching. Right. Now, there are things then that you need to consider as a teacher. It's quite a number of them. So I suggest that you move quickly. In fact, what I noted is that from the previous discussion, when you were introducing synchronous and asynchronous, somehow these considerations, they tend to crop in. So you would do a summary of these. For example, when we're talking about synchronous or asynchronous, you need to consider the environment. Think of your students, where they are, the access. You also think of what support would you need to provide for students. You also perhaps use a survey in terms of finding out if they do have access to devices at home. Is there anyone in the family who have a device that they could use? If there's no one, then you think who is living closer to the other person, maybe they can come together and do the activities. So those are different things that teachers need to consider when they shift to digital teaching. Data issue already from the introductions, I'm sure that is something that they would have mentioned or highlighted. Remember the questions that you ask them when they introduce themselves. What are your biggest concerns about digital teaching and learning? And definitely that one of data, that one of devices, it's something that teachers would mention. Right. In terms of data, then if they mention Wuti, data is the issue. All right, then you need to think as a teacher, what are alternatives? as a teacher, you need to be searching for packages, cheap packages that are available, which network, offers better package of data, this and that. Another issue that they mention is that of network, especially in rural, not only in rural. Sometimes you may find that there is data, but the network is the issue. Now, in that case, what measures are you going to take? Perhaps you check with the teachers, what else can you do? Maybe you record the sessions and share the recording with the students so that they are able to access offline. Such you create PDFs and they would have access to those, and they don't need to use data. So these are different things that they would share, so that it is that level of anxiety with, oh, if should we go with this, these are the problems that we will face, and so forth. But again, be mindful of time when you cover this. As you can see, this slide, you at somehow when you are in things to consider, when you are in this previous slide, some of the things covered in the next slide already, they would have been mentioned by the teacher or by yourself when you are using examples. Right. And again, this is also already covered from the previous engagement or from the previous slides. This is also important to consider their emotional needs, especially at this time. We cannot ignore the emotions that the shock, the stress that they've been through as learners, and yourself, but we're talking about learners where they have lost their loved ones, where they are not into routine. There's quite a number of issues which can cause stress to these learners. It's also important that you try and create activities which would address their emotional needs. Right, so that is that with the theory part of module 1. Now we then move to Microsoft Teams. Then this is the video that you will play. In the interest of time, I'm not going to play this video. I'd like you to watch the video and find teaching moments that you would use in your session to facilitate discussion around the video. It is about the video. It's about it's about students as well as teachers' experience using Microsoft Teams. So they are sharing that. I'd like you to perhaps find something that you would use to stir discussion, and also ask teachers to pay attention and ask them to take note of things that they find interesting from the video, so that there is a discussion around it. I mean, the purpose of the video is to create interest. Is to create interest around Microsoft Teams, to hear from people who are already using it. Right. So this part now, it's an exploration of Teams. Now you have options here. As you can see, this is where you take them through the features of Teams, what they would see when they access Teams. Now you have two options here, not two options, but I would share two options. Option number one is to first take them through these screenshots explaining different features using the screenshots. Like this is the dashboard, and then your me space, which is the left hand side panel. It's called the me space because that is where you as a teacher you create. This is where you have access to different menus for you to set up or to schedule different things. So this is you. This is for you as a user, not for the students. So all the teams that you create, they would sit on your me space. Right, and then your app bar, as I've mentioned, the one on the left-hand side, that's your app bar, where you access your teams, you access the chat box, the activities. With the activities, if there is an activity, it will indicate which activities are pending or not read, the files, assignments, and there is also more like more applications that you can access from the menu. Right, so that's your me space, and you also have your we space. Your we space is on the right hand side, which then your students have access to. You know, in the way space, the very first tab, that is where it displays the name of the team. For example, if you decide to call the team grade 9B, then it will display there in that tab that's a team for grade 9B, depending on what's the name of the team that you have assigned. Remember, I mentioned that you have two options. Option number two is, especially if you need to, when you make a decision, you should justify why are you using that option. For example, if you feel that, no, I don't want to go through this screenshot, rather I go straight to Teams and do the actual orientation in Teams together with them. Number one, that option saves you time because you are saving time going through the screenshot, because it's something that you will repeat again when you are in Teams. Whereas with option one, at times it's good to show them what they're going to see, so that when they are there, they already have this picture. We've already seen that and we know what it is. Let us it's an extension of the discovery. They already know what it is, or you've already mentioned it and they see it, it makes sense to them. Whereas at times others, they get lost when they just see what, when they're seeing it for the first time in real. So it's entirely up to you which one you think is going to work for you. Another thing is that some decisions you would take when you have met your group. You already got the feel with, okay, with my participants, maybe they are older ones, they may not get it if I take them straight to Teams. Let me rather, first do the facilitate this. Or maybe they are young ones, they are fast. I don't need to go through these different screenshots explaining. Let's go straight to Teams, and then I'm going to explain these different features to them. Right, now with this one, remember the first one, it was the name of the team, it will display. And then the next tab, normally when you create a team, it by default create a channel which is called general. You can add channels as you need, but by default or automatically, you have a general channel that you can use instantly. Right. And then you've got your tabs, which your class has access to. These different tabs, that is the first one, conversations. When you are on conversations, that is where you type in you post in your it can be your activity, your learner activities, or maybe you communicating an assignment, or it's a general communication, announcing something, notifying them something. So it's a chat that you type, but your students also are able to write or post whatever they need to post in that chat, which is a conversation tab. Then files, you would see when we are there, this is something that I would like you to, there's quite a lot that you can demonstrate, but you need to be mindful of time. Only focus on key features. Files, definitely you need to take them to files where you show them how do you upload files that you want to share with them, or how do they upload the files? How do they access files that you have uploaded? How do you, as a teacher, create documents within Teams using the file tab? Then class notebook, that is when you are integrating different applications available in Teams. So if you are integrating an application and you decide to pin it in the tab so that it's for quick access, then you're able to do so as well. You can add as many tabs as you need, but I think it's better, to delete those that you no longer need and keep them to a minimum of 3 and maximum of 5. I think 5 is even a lot. Keep it to 3 applications, then you delete when you don't need. Right, and then this is their canvas, your canvas, where everything is displayed. Right, so that was a quick, there was a quick exploration using the screenshot. The next one now is for you to go and demonstrate live. How do they create teams, and how do they access different things, and what is possible for them in Teams? And by doing so, you also providing them an opportunity to experience it, to explore and collaborate with their colleagues as if they are students. So I'm now going to exit. I'm now going to exit Teams and take you through that process, right? Right, let me check from you. Can I do a quick check here? Let me check from you. Do you want me to do a demo on how do you access Teams from office.com, or is it fine if I go straight to Teams? What you also need to explain is that you are able to download Teams as an app so that they are able to access it even when they are offline, or you are able to access it online. You don't need to download, but it is recommended to download it as an app. You can also download it in your mobile phone for quick access. Right, so remember, we started from office.com, right? So that is your www.office.com. Mine is going to take me straight, oh, fortunately. Right, so I go to sign in. Right, it is signing me in as tablet 11. That is a dummy account, which I don't know the password. It should be password. Okay, it's password 11. So these are the dummy accounts that you would assign to teachers. They are very easy to memorize. They are all at schoolnet.org.za. It's tablet 1 up to tablet we have up to tablet 30, right? And the one with tablet 1, the password is password 1. So this one, it's password 11 that I'm trying out. Then I type in password 11. Then I click on next. Then I'll cancel this one. Right. Rather say, they would say yes, so that for the duration of the workshop, they don't need to keep on logging in. Right. So I am logged in as tablet 11, of which this is what is going to happen. Since we all using one and the same dummy accounts, your teachers, they will find some of the work created by other participants from previous workshops. They should just ignore those, right? Don't delete anything. They just create whatever they need to create for themselves, right? But what is important is that what they are creating, they need to have their own names on those activities. So when we are here, for you to access the apps, you click on that waffle, which is your app menu, and they can access the apps, right? We're looking for Teams, so you click on Teams. If Teams is not available on the list, you'll need to click on all apps, right? Let's assume it is there, but if it's not there, they would need to click on all apps, right? And then I click on Teams. It's busy loading, right? Then I click on next. This is what they will need to do all the time. They click cancel. I'm happy that I'm using a dummy account, so you see exactly what teachers would see. Right, as you see here, get the Windows app. That is when they will need to download it, or use the web instead, right? And you will ask them to use the Windows app. Remember, if they're using the web, it means they will be consuming data, and there may be traffic, and it slows them down. Rather, let them use the app. If it means that they download the app, it's fine, but you would make your own decision what's going to work for you at that particular time. If the internet is great, it's good, they can use the web. Maybe you see what it's going to take a lot of time for them downloading the app. But in most cases, you find that in their laptops, they already have the app. Yeah, so I would let you decide what you want them to do. Now, when I'm here, I'm now going to use the app. So I already have the app, right? So I will go straight to the app. When I'm in the app, this is where now you would reinforce what you know you were talking them through. This is that's the menu, and then this is the main space where all your teams sit once you've created them, right? And then that's our space for whatever team is displayed at that moment. Like if I click on any team here, my canvas on the right hand side would show the information for that particular team, right? But I want you to go straight to like demonstrating how do they create their own teams. So you click right at the bottom, they would need to click on join or create a team. Right, and from here, there are two options: to create a team or to join a team with a code. This one, they need to ignore it. That is when you are invited by someone else to join their team and they have shared a code with you, then you use this. That is for joining. But Tina, we want to create a team. So we click on create team. And we want to create our team from scratch. Right. So what kind of team will this be? You need to mention this to them. With Microsoft, you know, they are very particular. They are particular. I'm remembering someone who posted something on Facebook to say, please refrain from using very, very, very. So, yeah, I'm reminded of that. So they are particular about the privacy of their users. So you have two options, private as well as public. For them as teachers, they would use private. They would use private because they already they would have created their students logins or Office 365 logins, which they would then enter when they invite their students. You know, that's important to protect them. But for the workshop purpose, remember, you want these teachers to play with this. You want them to invite their colleagues in the workshop to join the teams they have created as if they are students testing how it works. So I would go with the public one. Then you create they need to give the team a name. With the team name, it can be anything depending on your audience. It can be per subject, it can be per grade. If it's for colleagues, like it's a committee meeting of something, then it can be that, right? But for us, we want to focus in the classroom. So it can be like a maths. So let's say maths grade 9. Right. Then you need a description. What is this team about? So that when they receive an invitation, they know what is this team about. Then we click on create. Right? Then they need to add the members. In the workshop setting, what you would ask them to do is to add the colleagues using the dummy accounts. And it's very easy. Already, they know who is who. It's tablet3 at schoolnet.org.za tablet. So they just need to type those, inviting their colleagues. So inviting tablet already I have these in the interest of time, so I'm just going to use these ones. Tablet 13. Let me also add my colleagues and Pindile as the last one. Right, then I click on add. Right, then you say to teachers, you can add your students as members. Say you have colleagues whom you co-teaching a certain subject and you want to make them an owner of this group as well, so that they're able to have a full editing right, so they can change to owner. But for students, they are all members, right? So these are my students, they are already added. Now I have this team, Maths, grade 9. And remember what we said here, this is the name of the team. As you can see, it's MG. When I go to it, it's written Maths, grade 9. And remember, I mentioned that the channel is by default created, the general channel. It's already there. Now, the next thing for you to do once you have created a team as a demonstration is to take them through different, now it's time for experiencing. Perhaps you can start with the new conversation where you say, welcome to this class, whatever you want to write, which will be exciting. And then it say, how has the session been for you so far? Remember, you're engaging with the teachers as your students. And then you can talk them through about these different icons. What is possible when you are chatting with the students? You are able to attach a file. You are able to add the emojis. You're able to add your GIFs. There's quite a lot. You're able to add a video. You're able to add other applications, but one step at a time. Start with the simple thing that you know how to, and then you can build on your skills, right? So that is that. Then you send this conversation and your class is going to receive this. Remember, when you create your team, you're going to add all of them, the dummy accounts. You add all of them. What I did was to just copy the email address from the dummy accounts. Remember, you already have this file. Where is it? Here, you already have this file. So you simply copy all this and paste it to the place where you're adding your students. Then you know with all of the participants, well, depending on how many teachers will be in the workshop. If you have like 25, you will copy until 25, right? Then back to my demonstration. Then from here, they would then respond, right? They would respond and type. Now they get the feel, the sense of what is this all about, and they begin to explore with with these different tools as well. You give them time to do so. They love it. Then from there, you then say, okay, let us now move on to the next feature, that one of files, right? So you click on files. How do you share files with your students? Now, for you to share files, you go to files, then you click on upload. You have an option of uploading a file or a folder. There you go. Well done, Pindi. Right. Thank you, Matapelo. You see, we've got clever students. Right. So you have an option to upload a file or to upload a folder in your in your system, your computer. Now, what I did is that I click on file, where I then shared I shared the digital framework document with the teachers. Here it is. So I click on it, open, and then it's going to upload. Once it has uploaded, my students from this team would have access to this file which I have uploaded. They would be able to download it. They would be able to download the file as well. There's a lot, but you don't want to. You don't want to do what? What is the word? You don't want to overwhelm them. Just share important things that you know what they need to learn in this workshop. The rest they would explore. Now you want to demonstrate to them, how do I create a lesson or an activity within Teams? You go to new, well, they will have access to Office, to these Office applications. Obviously, this is Microsoft, which means they can create an activity using Word, Excel. They can create a PowerPoint. With this one, you then share examples of activities that they could create so that they share with learners. For example, with PowerPoint presentation, maybe you have asked your students to present or to create a PowerPoint presentation after they've done a research, and you worry that they have never created a PowerPoint presentation before. Therefore, you need to scaffold for them. How if then you create a template that they would follow, where you'd say, here, type in the title, slide number 2, this is the information that you need to include in this slide. Slide number 3, enter a photo of ABC. You see, like a template which scaffolds the use of presentation, you know, as an introduction. Later on, you will build on the skills. With the Word document, right, you can create your Word document, and let's call it class worksheet. They can call it whatever they like. So we're going to call it class worksheet. Then you click create. You need to be connected to do this. Now, for someone who do not have Office in their computers and they don't have license, you see, but they do have Office 365 account, they're able to use it right here within Teams. It's busy loading Word. Now, what is also interesting that you need to mention to the teachers is that with creating a Word document here, there are additional functions only available in Teams, right? So they can create here, what are we going to write? Okay, anything. You need to have, please do prepare something which you would demonstrate meaningful as an activity, right? So it's something, and then they maybe insert a table. With me, what I did with them, I inserted a table, and then what I also did, I then type their tablet 1, tablet 2, that will be a space for tablet 1 to type. Remember, with collaboration, they sometimes they are using one space to type, so it's better if you assign the space and so forth. That's what I did. Then I set a question or the information I wanted them to add. That is what is really amazing with this, because right from here, you are able to then start a conversation. You're able to write comments. Maybe this is a group, it's not tablet one. And then you're going to write something specifically, commenting about or an instruction to this group. You would then write an instruction or any other comment as a teacher. Then you post it here. When they come to this document, they would see this comment or this instruction or whatever you're communicating with them, and they would action it if it's something that needs to be actioned. Right. So you then ask them to create their own, right? You ask them to create their own. By asking them creating their own activity, they are now beginning to do the activity which is required for the SACE portfolio, which is to create a lesson activity that they need to share with the students in teams. Yeah, so they can create an activity right here, or they can create the activity out of Teams, then upload it and share with the students. Right. You don't need to save it, automatically save the work that you have created. Right. Now, the next thing that you want to share with the teachers is that of applications. Here are the applications that they can easily integrate within the teams. Or what I recommend though is that when you want to integrate an external application into Teams, rather sign in external out of Teams, because even when you are here and click on that application, if it's not a Microsoft application, it would require you to, for example, let's click on Wakelet. It would require you to sign in. Right. I think this has to do with my internet. But anyways, it will require you to sign in to that application. Other applications would take you out of Teams for you to create what you need to create, then integrate it or share it with the class here in Teams. Right. So the demonstration, as I mentioned, you would be guided by the time you have on how much you want to demonstrate. But what is important, demonstrate how they collaborate, demonstrate how they create an activity, demonstrate how they share files with students, right? Those three are the most important. You know, at times you find that the internet is really a problem and you are not able to move fast, or the participants are struggling and you are not able to move fast. If that's the case for you, please ensure that you at least cover these three. I'm now going to pause and check if we are still okay. Right. So that is the exploration part. So this is what they are expected to do, is to create and name their team, right? And yes, this is also important. When they add students, they need to add you as well so that you have access to their teams. Already, isn't it that you need to be collecting their artifacts? So by inviting you, already you are a member, and it means you have their work. You are able to access it, you are able to share it with us. What we have noted during the workshop I had is that I don't know, for some reason, tutor@schoolnet.org.za couldn't work. It refused to be added as a student. Only one or two were able. If you experience the same, use your personal email account, because you will be able to share their portfolios with us. And then they may add channels. They also post, comment in the team, a challenge. This is going beyond the expectation, add a class avatar. In fact, those who are clever, they would ask you about it, and they would like go and do and add the photo there. Upload a file, insert a picture, add an app to the channel. If they aren't able to do this, encourage them that, you know what, you can still do this post-workshop, even though you've managed to do the basic, but you can add these elements as your practice after the workshop. Right. I would like to now move to the creating digital assessment, which I don't have much time to complete, but I'm hoping I will be able to cover it within a short period of time. Right, so this is still part of what they would need to be do as part, it's clearly explained what they need to be doing as part of the POE. If you have questions, please do communicate your questions using our email address. You can send them directly to me, hlengiwe@schoolnet.org.za, and CC my colleagues. Right, I want to move on to our module 2 now, which is creating digital assessments. Obviously, you would do a recap of what you have covered with them in module 1, then you move on to module 2, which is creating digital assessments, and you cover the outcomes. The outcomes is that we want teachers to understand, gain insight on why do they assess. Then we look at assessment practices. Then the focus should be, or more time should be spent on using MS Forms in teams, as well as setting their own formative assessment using Microsoft Forms, which is to create a quiz. Right. If you find yourself in a situation like I am finding myself, I am pressed of time, please try to minimize the time you spend on explaining the theory part of what you are doing. Now, check with them, why do they assess? They will tell you quickly why they assess. And the intention of this slide is to say to the teachers, when we plan our lessons, assessment is not independent from the planning. It's part of the lesson planning. Then you explain the process of planning, where from the inner I'm tempted to say from the inner circle, from the inner part of this cycle, we look, it's the outcomes. We know that when you're doing your lesson planning, you state your outcomes. Once you have stated your outcomes, then you then start the plan. The plan is the green part, right? From the outcomes, what is it that the students are going to learn? what is it that they're going to learn from this? You've stated the outcomes. So what is the content? What is my content? And once I have specified or identified the content, then I move on to, okay, how would I know that they have learned this content? They have understood this content. It means I need evidence, that would inform me that these students have understood the work. That is where assessment comes in. That is collecting the evidence by the use of activities, right? Now, the use of activities, that is when you first need to plan these activities, right? These activities are what the students would need to learn. Ne? And once you have planned these activities, you need to know how they would demonstrate their learning. That is still part of the assessment. Now, the assessment includes feedback. You need to make a decision. How am I going to provide feedback of this learning? Then we look at what will be the next steps of learning before we move out of this cycle. Right. And then we look at the summative feedback. How would you provide that summative feedback? Which tools will you be using? And then from there, obviously, they would have said that the reason why they assess or why they administer assessment is because they want to understand the students' learning gaps to inform them of whether to reteach or to move on. So that is, in a nutshell, what you would be explaining here. Remember, you mentioned something about the assessment, right? How will students receive ongoing formative feedback? So it is therefore important to understand the assessment practices. With the assessment practices, what I would do, I'm going to write down the notes for you. Oh, I've forgotten presenting. What I would do is that I'm going to write down the notes that you would need in, for your facilitation, especially for the 2 slides. And then we look at this assessment practice. Again, it's quite a lot that you can say here, but try to summarize it. It's something that they already know, that there are types of assessments. There is a formative, there is summative. Probably they overlook the metacognition type of assessment, which is what we aim for. Right, so you then formative assessment. What is a formative assessment? Now, this is called a 3-part assessment model. Now, in 3-part assessment model, formative assessment is called assessment for learning, right? That is the continuous that is the continuous assessment that we use throughout the lesson. And normally what we use in assessment for learning, we use a test, whether learners have, achieved the learning outcomes. We also grade them, what they got from the test. We use quizzes kind of assessment. So the continuous assessment, it's that assessment that it can be observation, it can be a checklist of something. Yeah, and then we move on to assessment of learning, which is a summative assessment, where, the idea here is to say it's not enough to use one type of assessment where you only assess student right at the end. There should be assessment for learning. There should also be assessment of learning. Obviously, assessment of learning, that is the assessment right at the end of teaching, which is your exams and so forth. And then the last one, assessment as learning. Now, with this one, assessment as learning, it's more reflective. That is where you remember the framework where we're looking at D4, which that is where learning is centered and learners are encouraged to do self-reflections using a journal. They assess one another in the classroom. They provide feedback on the work that they have completed before it is submitted to the teacher. Whereas as a teacher in assessment as learning, you facilitate e-learning and the students are at the center. So the idea for this is that you use all these three practices in your assessment. Now, there are different tools available for digital assessment. These are all of them, and all of them, they are really amazing and students love them. But today, we're going to focus on Microsoft Forms. But there's nothing stopping you, if time permits, to also share one. Maybe you want to demonstrate, or you pose a challenge. Okay, sign up for this one and see what you can do with this tool as well. Right, and then this is a video that, again, I'm not going to play. It's about using forms in Microsoft Teams, which is something that you would demonstrate. Again here, same model as the previous module. You decide whether you want to do you want to talk them through here, or you want to first, you want to go straight to office.com, access forms, then demonstrate how to design your quiz or your assessment. We will focus with quiz. There are different types of assessment that you can create with forms, but we will, the teachers, you will demonstrate to them how to create a quiz. Reason being, with the quiz, you're able to assign marks and for students to receive instant feedback when they have completed the assessment. So surely you want teachers to make use of that. So same process, office.com, then they would need to go to forms. If time permits once again, I think it is great to first get your teachers to take on the quiz that you would have created. I have shared the quiz in the presentation. I think it's on facilitator notes that you can use with the students if time permits. But if you see what you are pressed of time, there's no time for them to first complete the quiz. The purpose of getting them to complete, you want to show them how the teacher receives responses and do the analysis. But you can still do that even if they don't take the quiz by showing an already completed quiz. Maybe you do have one. If you don't have one, please communicate that with us. We can share a sample with you and grant you editors, right? So that you're able to share with the teachers what they would see, how they can do the analysis of that particular assessment. Right. It's very simple creating a quiz. You simply follow these steps as they are. What I'm going to do, I'm going to exit here and perhaps take you through the steps on how to create the quiz. This one is shorter. It doesn't really take long because after that, you then do a demo. Oh, here's the link I was talking about, where you first get them to complete a quiz. And this quiz, it's about the three-part assessment model, where they need to answer the questions, whether they understood. Right. After the demo, I just want to go through the slide and complete before I do the demo. After you've done the demo, whether they are following you as you do the demo, but what you need to note is that they need to create an assessment quiz for their own subject area. They need to give it a name, set at least 5 questions minimum, and they need to also include correct answers. Obviously, that is a given, as well as points. Then they test their quiz. They share it with their colleagues using the demo, the dummy accounts, where they invite they invite colleagues to take the quiz. I also would like you to share with them how they could then share this quiz with students in teams. Because the moment you create the teams, the quiz, you're able to then go to your teams and share it with students. I'm worried about my time. Remember, we're trying to cover a full day workshop in 2 hours. Right, so I'm going to show you how to do that. So this is part of their portfolio. Let me repeat. The requirement for the portfolio here is that a teacher creates a quiz for their subject and then have the theme, right? So they would need to change the theme, 5 to 10 questions, test the quiz with colleagues in the workshop. So that is all which is required. But do ask them to also share it in their teams, which is really great. They like it a lot. Right, now I'm going to exit full screen. While I do so, I want to check with you if you do have questions.
Is with this course, I saw part of it, but is there any step by step that you start by this and you come to this to come to this? Sometimes when it comes to teams, you start with this and this and this and this. You stop at this point. This is enough for what they have learned about teams, a clear direction. And then with assessments, you do this with forms, this type of a question, this type of a question. This is enough. Do we have that so that we know exactly what we are supposed to cover in this day?
Yes,
Thank you.
it's it's in the PowerPoint presentation. You see, with me, I'm trying to cover both the facilitation as well as the facilitation of the course, as well as demonstrating the content. But
Okay, thanks.
the step by step, it's there in the presentation. I'm thinking that you're asking the minimum that you can do. If you have completed those, you will be good. If time permits, then you can go beyond. Yes, it's there in the presentation. You'll be guided by the presentation, exactly what to cover, step by step.
Thank you very much, Kirsten.
All right. Okay, so looks like I need to go to my office.com again. Right. Then this is what I want to note with forms. We do have forms as an app, right? Again, you access it the same way as you have done with Teams, but what I have discovered is that with the quiz here, you need to click on the plus create. Ne? You click on the plus create, then you go to, you see you've got two options to create forms or to create a quiz, which when you do a demo, you need to stress, Wuti, please click on quiz. Right. Go next. It's taking longer. Okay, that's coming. All right, when you are here, again, please take note that you need to have your questions already planned and typed in some way so that you simply do a copy and paste. That will save you time. Right, when you are here, you need to name your quiz. And a description, if there is a description, then you click on add new. And then you explain that there are different type of questions that you can use. You can use multiple choice. What is also lovely here is that you can mix your questions in one quiz, but we will go with the multiple choice all the way. Click on multiple choice, right? It's your question. Once you've done your question, you need to decide how many options you're going to provide, whether 3 options, depending on the question, 3 options, 4 options, right? Your answers, perhaps let me use a different letter. These are the options that teachers would, or your students would choose from. If you need to add a third question, a third option, you can simply click on add option to get the third one. Right, that you see, that will be enough. Right, and from here, you need to indicate which one out of these 3 options is a correct answer, right? Then you will click on it. That's the correct answer. I don't know why it's doing that. And you need to allocate the points. If it's 5 points for this question, you type 5 or 10, whatever it is. Right, and then you're ready to move on to the new question. Again, I'm doing the multiple choice. I type my question. And then my options, I follow the same thing. My option, I'm going to create only 2 questions. And this would be my correct answer. And then the points for this one, maybe this is a more complex question, therefore the points will be 10 points. Right. Then from here, so you're done with the questions. That is your step number 1. Then your step number 2 is to change your theme. With the theme, you can add your own photo, or you can choose from the existing ones. and try to select something which is, you know, which is more close to the topic. Right, I would just choose anything. That's how you add the theme. And then the last thing is to share your presentation. Sorry, is to share your form. Now, when you share the form, you're able to copy the link. Remember, I said it would be great to share it in Teams, so you can copy this link, then go to your team. This is my team, remember? Then I go to, where do I go? Post, right? I want to post this. Oh, wonderful. See? Then I click on new conversation. You can shorten your link. Then you can paste it here. Alternatively, you can add it from here. It's loading the apps. You can type the app that you're looking for. For me, it's Forms. Oh, it's not going to show here because I'm using two different accounts. From my Teams, I'm using my personal account, and when I created the form, I used Tablet 14, which is a dummy account. But what you would do is to say, add an existing form. Then all the forms that you have created, they will appear here. This is what I created as a demonstration. So when they appear here, you select the one that you want to share, right? Post to the channel and click save. And then the teachers will then complete it from here. So these are the two forms that I have posted. The first one I posted using a link. The second one, I posted it by adding, by adding it from the app. And there it is. My students will then complete it. Right. Finally, for this, the rest you will be able to follow using the PowerPoint presentation. Finally, for you as a trainer, we will share a trainer toolkit. In the trainer toolkit, let me see if I have it. Here's the trainer toolkit we will share with you. There is a SACE attendance register, the two PowerPoint presentation, and then there is a course evaluation, the facilitator claim form. When we appoint you to go and facilitate the session, we will share with you the details, that is how much is due to you for facilitating this course. Then there is a trainer report template, as well as the dummy account login. Yeah, all is here. What I would suggest you do when we share this kit with you, download it before you make any changes. You will only make changes when you have downloaded, because if you make changes here, you are making changes for everyone or for all of us. Please feel free to customize the PPTs as you need. That is fine, as long as you would meet the outcomes of what we intend to do of this project. Thank you so much. I'm going to stop here. Apologies for going over time. Yeah, it was quite a lengthy, it was quite a long session and quite a lot to cover while demonstrating as well. I'm going to check if there are questions on your end. If there aren't any questions, please find the link to the course evaluation, that is our session today, for you to complete. When you are facilitating, please replace this link with a course evaluation which is in the toolkit. Try to shorten it. Perhaps what I will do is that after this session, I would remove this one and replace it with another one. Matapelo, can I check with you? I'm not sure if Matapelo is still with us. She has a small baby. I'm not sure if she's still connected. In case Matapelo, you are still here, can you please indicate if you are still here?
Hi, Shengi. Yes, I'm still here.
All right. Matapelo, can you indicate whether we need to be using one course evaluation for all the workshops, or each trainer needs to download theirs so it's separate?
So we will be using one evaluation. So the one that you
One.
analyzing will be the one that we're using for all.
Okay, perfect. So in that case, I'm going to insert the link for you. When you receive the toolkit, it would have an updated link that you would share with the teachers to complete the survey. Right. Thanks so much. Please do complete the register as well as the evaluations. Upindile has been Matapelo. They've been posting it in our chat for quick access. If you missed it, please do complete after the session or maybe tomorrow. It's important that you complete it. Thank you so much for your patience. It's been quite long, but I hope it was worth it. For any further questions or clarifications, please feel free to communicate with us. Thank you. Pindi, Matapelo, is there anything I am missing?